Welcome back to SwimSwam's 2024 Olympic Games event by event preview. This is part 3, days 7 through 9 of Paris competition, where we are going event by event and talking about every single last race. This episode of the SwimSwam podcast is sponsored by Commit Swimming, SwimSwam's exclusive team management software partner. Since 2015, Commit has been providing coaches with swimming's leading workout management software. And now, Commit has team management software too. Commit wants to help you make the switch from Team Unify to a simpler, more powerful solution. Their onboarding and customer service team will walk you through every step of the way. Check them out at commitswimming.com to book your demo today. That's COMMIT swimming.com. Today, we are starting with a banger for day 7 finals. It is the men's 50 freestyle, where I think this could be the fastest final for top to bottom in the men's 50 free we've ever seen in history. We certainly have some of the top performers of all time, and I think many will be looking for that elusive world record to get broken that was set by Cesar Cielo in 2009 at 20.91, I think it is. Sophie, I'm going to throw it to you first. Who do you have for your podium?
I have Ben Proud winning this. Yeah, we're starting off strong on day 7, and yeah, I think that, the 50 is always crazy, right? Like, it is so hit or miss, but I'm picking Proud for the win here over Cam McAvoy, mostly on vibes more than anything else, but I do think that Proud has looked so good. The 21.25 he turned in at the British Trials is the 3rd fastest swim of his career. He's clearly on form. So I'm picking him for gold ahead of Cam McAvoy. And then bronze, I have Caleb Dressel. I just think there's no way that Dressel does not get on this podium. He said himself at trials, right? He doesn't know if he's ever going to go a best time again, but he does know how to race. And we saw him in that 50 free final at trials, and he looked really good. So I think that his ceiling is certainly higher than bronze in this race. But that's where I've got him for now.
All right, Laura, what do you think?
Yeah,
Tell Sophie she's wrong.
I think Dressel also looked good at trials, but I think he looks good enough for gold. Comparing to his last Olympic schedule, he doesn't have 100 free before this, or at least not the individual event. I think he's a lot fresher here, and he's still, he has that start still that is such an advantage in a race as short as the 50. I just think he knows how to race, and I think he doesn't want to lose. And I still agree with Ben Proud getting in there on the podium. I agree with all that, but I'm going to give the French boost here to Manadou for bronze. Just think, big guy. I think he can do it. He's, I think
Cam McAvoy off the podium.
There's only 3 spots up there.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to tell both of you you're wrong because I'm going French boost to the nth degree. Florent Manadou for the win. I want a storybook ending so badly here, and I don't think it's probable, but I want to keep hope that Florent Manadou. So the one shred of hope I have, of realistic hope, is that I spoke with Cesar Cielo, who knows the current world record holder in the 50 free. And he said when he watched Florent swim his 21.5 at French trials, he's like, it looked like he shut it down the last 20 meters. I really think he's got a pretty special swim coming in Paris. He'll be on his home turf. He's medaled in the last 3 Olympic finals, gold, silver, silver. I think the fire is burning. It's his time, and I just want to see it so badly. The crowd would go freaking nuts. So I'm just going on. I'm living on a prayer here. Florent Manadou for gold, Dressel for silver, Cam McAvoy for bronze. I would love to see Ben Proud get an Olympic medal, because I believe that's pretty much the only title, let alone medal internationally, that he doesn't have. He won world title, Commonwealth title, and Euro title all in the same year. Oh, and short course world title all in 1 year. So it'd be awesome to see Proud get in there, but those are my numbers for now. Like Laura said, there's only 3 spots. Why can't there just be 4? All right. Next up, we've got the women's.
I'm just imagining NCAA podium, where top 8 all get the All-American honors. We can just build one of those.
Yeah, line them all up.
All Olympic team. Let's go.
All right, or I'll pick a tie for bronze.
Yeah.
Let's go. Do it.
Then they all get up there.
Yeah, can we just see a 3-way tie like in the Rio men's 100 fly?
That's my favorite type of tie.
Seriously.
Wait, then who are you leaving out of this tie then? Is it still Ben Proud?
No. Florent for gold, Dressel, Cam, and Ben tie for silver.
Okay.
Yeah, that's honestly what I want to see. All right. Next up, women's 200 back final, Kaylee v. Reagan, round 2. Laura, kick us off. Who do you got?
Yeah, I think someone said it in a previous preview, but I think Smith and McEwen split the backstrokes here. I think Reagan takes the 100, Kaylee takes the 200. Why do I feel that way? I'm not exactly sure why, but
I mean, they have the world record in those events.
I mean, yeah, but you make a good point. I just think Kaylee looks her 200 race strategy. If I recall this correctly today, I'm just getting my wires crossed with all the Australian back halfers. But she looks stronger through the 50s or through the back half of this race, and I think in an Olympic final, when it just matters who gets to the wall first, I think that strategy benefits her the most. I would love to see 2 swimmers under 204 in this. It'd be amazing to see them both firing at once. But it's the race between them. And then for third, I'm picking Phoebe Bacon. I think she just had a great race at trials to get her hand on the wall. And book a second trip to the Olympics. And I mean, it feels like such a tight field behind our 2 leaders here that it could really be any number of swimmers. But I think Bacon will cook. She'll cook them.
Fair enough. Sophie, any discrepancy?
Not really. I do kind of find myself getting trapped in like the context of between picking Reagan and Kaylee, right? Because in the previous podcast I did pick Reagan in the 100 as well to say they'll split. Is that being too biased or just trying to like split the difference between them? But then if you kind of if you take Kaylee in the 100, then you've got her repeating as 100 and 200 Olympic champion in both events, and that feels really hard to say based on the challenge that Smith does bring to her. I do have Kaylee here taking the win ahead of Reagan, and then Math once again fighting with the Americans and the second American for that bronze medal. She and Phoebe Bacon have both been 206.2 this year, so I think it will be really close between them. Bacon has the better lifetime best with that 205 flat from Budapest. And I do think that she will get on the podium for bronze ahead of Moss.
I'd really love to see Moss get on that podium just as again, it's similar to the 100. She'll be battling, kind of the American, and it's youth versus wisdom, I guess, experience, youth versus experience. But I think it's very similar to the 100. Like I said before, I think Kaylee wins this. I think Reagan gets second, and it'll be a good battle for third. But similar to the 100, I think it's pretty cut and dry in that regard. It's going to be nuts if someone just gets in there and upsets Reagan or Kaylee for even a silver medal, which seems unlikely on paper, but I don't know, it's the Olympics, anything could happen,
Yeah, I mean, the Australians, Jacqueline Barclay, is nothing to sneeze at like that. They also have a pretty strong pair that they're sending to this event. I think, she's further behind. Her best is a 207 flat, but that's from this year. But, I forget which event we were talking about this in with the women's 100 breast about the speed of the field. If this is a slow final, she could get on the podium.
Yeah. So we will see. Next and last final of day 7, men's 200 IM. I feel like there's a lot of intriguing medal potentials here, but I feel like the top is not that surprising. I'm going to go first on this one because I think it's all Leon Marchand. I think he approaches a world record. I can't say he breaks one, but I think he's going to go the fastest time we've seen since that 2011 final where Lochte and Phelps went 1-2 and went the 2 fastest times in history. I think 154 low is incoming for Leon. Wang Shun is just kind of a mystery to me. He's in that what's China going to do scenario. I'm sure he's getting drug tested quite a bit at this point. He's the defending Olympic champion. He's been 154.6 last year. So he's got some momentum. I'm going to slot him in for silver. And for bronze, I'm going to go Duncan Scott. He's the defending silver medalist. He's been 155.9 recently. And I think he's got the speed and the endurance to pull off a third place. But Sophie, who do you have podiuming?
I agree with the Leon Marchand take. I think, whether or not he does that 200 breast, 200 fly double remains to be seen. But I think at this point, this is kind of his race to lose. I know that Wang Shun has been faster than him, which the 154.6 that he did at the Asian Games after World Championships last year, but he's so inconsistent that it feels really hard in this field to book him in for a medal, just because you've got, Marchand is in there, and then there's Foster and Casas, and then you've got, Scott and Dean, the 2 Brits who are going to come absolutely flying home on that freestyle leg. And even Finley Knox, who set a Canadian record 156.0 at Canadian trials. So this is just such a stacked field that, we've been talking about, how much do we trust certain swimmers? And at this point, he has so many question marks for me that in this deep of a field, it's really hard to leave him. It's really hard for me to give him my vote of confidence. So I'm going to take Scott for silver and Knox for bronze.
Laura?
Oh, well, I think we can agree that Marchand takes gold here. I think so. We put it pretty well that the rest of the field it could be a toss-up there. My personal picks is I have Foster in for silver, but that this is in my timeline where he misses the podium in the 4 a.m. and he's hungry here, which I construct narratives around my.
You're consistent.
Yeah. And for bronze, my heart, I want to pick cases. I want to see this.
I would love that.
I want to see it was such an emotional moment at trials when he finally made an Olympic team after just showing so much promise over the last quad and the quad before. And I would love to see him find his way onto the podium. Like I just remember watching the race. Like it's not uncommon in the 2IM. Like, but when he was out under world record pace, I was like, I forgot that at his potential. That it just seems like we just haven't seen him reach on the international stage. So while I'd love to see him slot in for bronze here, I think a safer pick would be going with Duncan Scott.
I agree that Shane does have that opening speed going for him. And I think certainly in an Olympic race, that can be an advantage if everyone is kind of sitting back and counting on their back half to get them the race. If someone just takes it out, a la Michael Phelps in 2016, obviously Phelps could bring it home, but it's like, if you just go for it, that could benefit you, So if Casas kind of shows that same strategy in the final, we saw Carson catch him, but he still made the Olympic team. Like, if he does that again, one or two guys might catch him, but maybe he gets on the podium. And I'm with you that I would love to see that. I'm not going to bet on it quite yet, but it'd be really fun if that happened.
You're advocating the Michael Andrews strategy then.
Look, Michael Andrew is the third fastest American of all time behind the top two performers. And he didn't go, if he would have gone a best time in finals, he would have medaled,
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not about the time. It's about the race.
It's not. You're right.
I'm just saying cases closed in 29-27. So at trials. So I don't think that's quite the Michael Andrews strategy.
For Shane, honestly, I am advocating going out fast though.
Yeah, I mean that's his strength.
I think it would be a good way for him to swim it. So Shane, pull a Michael Andrew, except maybe medal. I don't know. All right, that's day 7. Let's move on to day 8, where we start with the men's 100 butterfly. This is going to be such a good race. Sophie, start us off.
Oh boy.
What do you think here?
Well, I think it's kind of strange that we've gotten this far into the meet without saying Josh Liendo's name yet.
Not even once.
But if there is a race for him at this meet, it is this one, right? Like, he just missed breaking 50 seconds at Canadian trials. He was so close, and I think that is going to have him hungry. I think if I had to pick one person who has not been under the barrier to do it in Paris, it's Liendo. And I think that he is going to be absolutely fired up racing next to Dressel, maybe not right next to him, but in the same final. This will be their first 100 fly racing each other on the international stage since they've been training partners at Florida. So there's that, added edge to this as well. Plus the completely loaded field. You've got Ponte, Temple. I know I'm missing another person. I think it's like 6 of the 8 fastest men of all time are entered in this event. I'm forgetting Grousset. How could I forget my silver medal pick in the 100 freestyle? Totally went to bat for. I think this is going to be absolutely nuts. And then you've got Malak as well. Gosh, and I've got to make the call. I do think Dressel gets gold here. I said bronze in the 50 free, but I think that this is the race that he can win. And I think he's going to win gold and repeat as Olympic champion. I think Liendo gets in there for silver. And with the rest, I will continue to back Grousset, and he gets bronze. I guess I'm taking the top 2 under 50 seconds, and I think Grousset will just miss that mark.
I have the same podium, except I'm going to flip Liendo and Dressel, just because I don't think – I know I picked Florent to win the 50 free, but that's the 50 free. That's an old man's game. Tony Irvin won that. In the 100 fly, I at the Olympics generally, it's not a meet that favors age, I don't think. So I think Dressel's going to be close, but I think Josh is going to be hungry. Like you said, he wants to break 50 seconds. He's coming off a stellar NCAA season. He's medaled on the international stage, but never won a title. And he trains with Caleb every single day. Like, I've talked about this on other podcasts, but like, Caleb started not breathing the last 25 of his 100 fly, short course and long course, and no one else did it. And it's like, it's faster. We know it. Like, it's hard, but like, why is no one else doing this? I guess because it's really hard, but like, it's faster. It works. And then Josh, who trains at Florida, like, it's a Florida thing, right? But like, he's the only other guy that's going to potentially do that. He's the only other guy that can match Dressel's speed. He has great endurance. It's like, I think he is the guy who can take down Caleb, and I think he's going to do it in this final. I think he wins gold. I think Dressel's right there and gets second. I think Grousset gets the French boost for third. Laura, fight us.
Well, I mean, I think my picks are like, I have the same people in a different order, but I think we're not. I mean, it's crazy to not mention the lock here, who is the second fastest performer of all time and the only other athlete in this field who's been under 50. I mean, we've all read the reports of his training or lack thereof, but I think if we're worried about his form worried about his preparation or his form in any case, I think less preparation favors the sprint events, and I think he is such an edge in the two fly. He's really far ahead, and I think he can still throw down something nasty in this one fly. Does he make it onto the podium? I'm not sure, but I think he's gonna push these guys for a really great race. And as we've gone through this, I've realized like the stroke hundreds are looking to be some of the best races of these Olympics across both the men's and women's events.
Truly.
Yeah.
There's going to be a ton of great races. And maybe the best one is our next final on day 8 in the women's 200 IM. It's a 4-horse race. I think that's fair to say. We've got Summer McIntosh, Kayla McEwen, Kate Douglas, who will all be competing in multiple events for multiple gold medals. And then you've got Alex Walsh thrown in there, who is only swimming this event. Who I think maybe the better question is, who are you leaving off of this podium? For me, I haven't even thought about it. And this might be controversial, but I think I'm going to leave Summer McIntosh off of the podium because she will have swum a lot of events by this portion of the meet, as will Kate and Kaylee. But I think like you can make the argument for anything. I think Kaylee, Kate, and Alex make it onto the podium, and I think Summer is just out. That's my argument. That's it. Sophie, let's hear yours. maybe it's more well-rounded than mine.
I think that it's certainly your argument is certainly a fair argument, right? Like, these are 4 of the fastest women in history, and we've talked about it before. There's only 3 spots on this podium, right? And there is a case to be made for any of the 4 missing the podium. Personally, I just hope that we get all 4 of them in the final and that there are no DQs and nobody scratches and we actually get this race that we've been waiting for literal years. But I think at the end of the day, I will take Walsh to miss just because, she is the only one in this field who has yet to break 207. And while, it might not, maybe the podium isn't all going to be under 207, right? This is day 7 of the meet or day 8. I've completely lost track at this point.
Day 8. But yeah.
I think the other 3 have a stronger close than Walsh does on that freestyle leg. And I think that is going to be what does it, honestly. And so I can see her being, in podium position after the breaststroke leg, but I do think that Summer at least, and probably, Kate as well, will run her down on that freestyle leg. As for the order of the podium, I think I have, Kaylee winning this, Kate silver, and Summer bronze, but that's written very lightly in pencil, and I reserve the right to change that, before I lock my pick'ems in.
Laura?
So I have Walsh for gold. And I'm with you, Coleman, on McIntosh missing, because even without semis, McIntosh has 4 400s before this.
Yeah.
Again, barring catastrophe, but that it just outpaces the meterage that the rest of these athletes will have thrown down at this point. And I just think Walsh will be fresh. I think it's very unlikely she swims a prelims of a relay, and I think this is like she's laser focused on this race. And if she didn't have Olympic silver from Tokyo, I might feel differently. But she has Olympic silver from Tokyo. She's been in this position before, where she's had the one race of her whole she's had one race for the meet, and she found her way onto the podium. Granted, the field has gotten a lot faster since Tokyo, but I think she has enough speed to get there, because just with it being day 8, it's going to be a race. And I don't think we're going to see many personal bests in this final. And so I think it favors the fresh legs here. And Walsh is the only one who'll have those.
So here's my analysis now that I've thought about it for 5 minutes and heard your perspectives on the matter. I think Alex is foundationally the weakest of the 4, in that her weakest leg, freestyle, matters the most. Right? Like, you have Summer, Kaylee, and Kate who can all close on that last 50 better than Alex can. I think they all have a weaker stroke, or a weak stroke. Kaylee's fly is not, Kaylee's fly is hers. I think that matters the least. Kate's backstroke is not that great. I think her last 100 more than makes up for it. Summer's breaststroke is her weak stroke, and I think that's where Alex might capitalize the most on her ground to make on Summer. And then Alex's freestyle is her weaker stroke. But again, I think her not racing before that is going to benefit her. I think Kate's going to win it, coming off of a high from maybe winning the 200 breast, but I think she's looked really great and consistent in this event all season, and she's raced it more than McEwen has. So I think she's going to have a slight leg up on her in that regard. I think Kaylee's going to get silver, and I think Alex gets in there for bronze ahead of Summer. But truly, I think that's going to be one of the most exciting races of the meet, and it's going to come at the tail end, which is awesome. Moving on to the women's 800 freestyle. I'm going to start with this. Chance that Titmus upsets Ledecky.
Slim.
Higher, over, or under 16%?
Oh, what an interesting question. What an interesting benchmark. Lower.
Lower. Really? Yeah. Okay. Laura, what do you think?
I agree with lower here.
Wow. Okay. I just published an interview with Ariarne, and she, she's hopes to give Ledecky a run for her money in that event. She's going to leave it all out there. And there are some commenters who are pretty high on like, okay, like I don't think the chances are great, but like she could upset her. Titmus could get in there. But okay, Sophie, I'll start with you. Give me your rationale.
Ledecky has just been so dominant in this race for such a long time. I think it was really interesting to see her reaction to her 800 and 1500 at US trials. It seemed like she was pleased with her 400 freestyle time, but it seemed like she wanted more out of her 800 and 1500 swims. She was 8:14.7, I think, at trials in the 800, and then a 15:37 in the 15. We know she can be a lot faster in both of those races. I do think that she gets gold here, though, and I don't think the chances are all that high that Titmus upsets her here. I guess I think it's like a 10% if I'm being forced to put a number on it. If Summer were in this race as well, I think that question gets a little bit more interesting. McIntosh is the only one who's beaten Ledecky in this race in years. And so I think with her out of it, though, that gap gets harder for Titmus to close. It'll be a much bigger gap to Ledecky than if McIntosh was in the pool as well. So no, I don't think she does it. I think she gets silver again. And I've got her down for 2 golds and a silver at this meet, which is nothing to sneeze at.
That's not even including 2 golds and 2 silvers maybe for Ledecky. No, Titmus, sorry.
Titmus, yeah, in her individuals.
In her individuals, yeah. And then
Yeah.
probably another gold. But okay, Laura, what do you think? Titmus gold, right?
Well, I think when I think about Ledecky in the 8 free, I think back to 2019 Worlds where she lost the 400 to Titmus. She withdrew from the 1500 due to illness, but then she gritted out the 800 win. And I think like she's going to win this event. I think she goes for the 4P. Like I think she's well aware of that. That she could win her 4th gold here, and I just think to me Titmus, like her ability to swim down to the 200 or like her speed swimming down to the 200. I mean, she has the world record, so give mention to that. I think that hurts the other end, her distance end, and Ledecky, just the fact that she swims up to the 1500, I would say extremely well. Gives her the edge here in my mind. Titmus could give her. Well, Titmus's strategy is even like more of a back half one compared to Ledecky's, and I think that just gets tougher the longer the distance gets because watching Ledecky swim like in person in trials, just how she locks into that pace, it's scary how she does that. And I think Titmus just doesn't have enough experience in this event to really challenge Ledecky like on her turf here.
It's hearing that last little description of that. It's like Leon Marchand at NCAA's in the 400 IM, not in 2023 when he just like completely destroyed everyone and like the oxygen got sucked out of the room and it was like, whoa, yeah. And then you think back and you're like, oh wait, that's every race Ledecky has swum for the past decade that's over a 400.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like she does this every time she gets in the pool where there's just no chance whatsoever that you'll be winning. And it becomes very evident very quickly. So fine, Ledecky goes for the 4-peat, makes history. That's pretty awesome. Not stellar for my fantasy team, but I am slotting Titmus in for silver. So there you go. That'll be good. And then I'm actually going to call Lonnie Pallister for bronze. So in Australia, silver, bronze there. I think she's had a great year. She's looking well. I don't think she's quite going to make it in the mile, but I think she has a great shot to medal in this 800.
Ahead of Li
yes.
Bingji.
Ahead of China, who has done a lot of drug tests, and peeing in cups in front of people is going to take its toll. That's what I'm going with. And on that note, one of the most interesting events, certainly, last event of day 8, the mixed medley relay. China is the top seed, followed by Australia and the United States. Great Britain's there at 5th. They are the reigning world record holders. It's certainly just going to be a fun race to watch no matter what. But I feel like any take on this is kind of wild and zany, and you can probably defend it quite well. Does anyone want to go first? Who's got a take?
I mean, I think I'll just say that I think Great Britain's chance largely depends on what Petey's going to do here. You know, he's their big weapon in this race. And I think their chances of repeating at gold are dependent on that. This is always such a fun race. It's silly to watch. You know, the Chinese squad put a huge emphasis on this relay at Worlds last year, to the point that they had, you know, people scratching out of individual events to focus on this relay. They wanted that world record really badly. You know, in Tokyo, the U.S. had one of the more interesting strategies I've ever seen in this race, you know, with putting Jacoby on the breaststroke leg, you know, and they missed the medals because of that. I don't think that's going to happen again. I guess I'll take China for the win here, and U.S. getting silver. And I don't know. Let's make a pick.
So I'm just gonna walk through some potential lineups, and please correct me if I'm missing someone. So like China, you're looking at Zhu Zheyu, Chen Haiyang, Zhang Yifei, freestyler, Zhang Juan.
Yeah, probably.
So like really, really solid. US, Murphy or Armstrong, kind of interchangeable. I feel like Nick Fink, who again, I'm nervous about Nick Fink, just because of his trials performance. Like 59.1 is not going to do much for us, and he's great on relays historically. So like I'll give him a 58.5 solidly, which is great. Gretchen Walsh, Kate Douglas. I like that relay. Honestly, Britain looks similar to to Tokyo, I believe, but I don't know who their backstroker is.
It would be Ollie Morgan, or they could put Johnny Marshall on there as well. Both of them had really great meets at British trials. I'm now going to, of course, forget what they went, but Morgan broke their super suited national record. You know, he's clearly on form. But
do you think that so if they go male, female, do they have a female butterflyer?
Interesting question. I mean, I'm sure they have one, but
I was thinking they would have a female backstroker followed by Petey, James Guy, and like Anna Hopkin or Freya Anderson, which is again how they won in Tokyo. But honestly, yeah. And then Australia, you've got McEwen, Sam Williamson, Matt Temple, and female freestyler, you know, let's say Molly. So who there's some interesting lineups. Like I feel like every country has one leg that's kind of like I don't know about that. Saying it out loud, like, I kind of like Australia's chances, even though they're leading off with a female. Like, it's Kaylee McEwen.
Who is, but she has not put up her best performances in relays, I feel.
I guess she'll also have a lot of swims under her belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you could even like go wild and put Molly on that backstroke leg and then put like Shayna Jack on the freestyle and don't lose that much.
Yeah.
That's
true.
But Molly will have a lot of swims under her belt also, like 2 relays plus 2 individual. Yeah. This is a tough one.
Yeah. Like when you introducing this event, I was like, I was going to say the U.S. finishes off the podium, which is not that much of a hot take because they did miss in Tokyo. But now saying out all the lineups.
Strong chance for gold, honestly.
Yeah, saying out all the lineups, like, well, maybe everyone else is also kind of in this weird spot too.
Yeah, because like let's say, you know, Ryan Murphy, model of consistency, 52 low. Nick Fink steps up 58.5 to 58.3, and you know he could even go faster. But like, you know, let's say that then Gretchen Walsh, you know, and it's like I think you're pretty much guaranteed a lead at that point. Can Kate Douglas hold off the field? I'd say yes. So like I think you can make a strong chance for a lot of teams, or a strong case. China has such a good seed, but again, they've been drug tested so many times. I feel like this is becoming like, how is this going to affect LeBron's legacy?
Yeah.
Chinese drug tests, how will this affect their performances? No, it's I think that's a preview. I don't know if we have any. Sophie, podium. Go.
I feel like I started out by saying China gold, so I kind of feel like I've got to stay there. Although they've been drug tested so much, and you know, hearing the lineups, I think listed out, it is a really tough call to make. You know what? I guess I will backtrack. I do think, you know, even with Nick Fink, parentheses old, so consistent on their relays, and they had that burn from Tokyo that you know, they're not going to make that mistake twice.
I hope not.
And they, you know, everyone just shows up for relays. I think they're going to want that relay incentive bonus. Carries them to gold here, ahead of China and Australia for bronze.
I'll go U.S. gold. I like Australia for silver and China bronze, just because I don't quite know where they're at, but drug tests, et cetera, et cetera. But all right, I think that rounds out day 8. Well,
yeah.
Woo, we made it, everyone. Day 9, last day of the Olympic Games. We've got 4 finals, and we kick it off with the women's 50 free, where absolutely no one will be beating the world record holder, Sarah Sjostrom. I think that's a fair assessment to make. If anyone wants to fight me on that one, the floor is open, but I am pulling for Kasia Wasik to medal here. This is her 5th Olympics. She medaled in 2022. I don't know what happened at 2023 Worlds. She wasn't in the final, so maybe something kept her from that. But she's had a great comeback after taking some time out of the water and then resurfacing. But at the 24 Worlds, she was 23.9 to get bronze behind Sjostrom and Kate Douglas, who's not swimming this. So I really like Kasia for a medal. And I'm also going to go with Simone Manuel just because I want it. I don't care the order, Kasia or Simone or vice versa, but that's my podium. Laura, Let's hear yours.
Yeah, we have similar feelings about this. I think Sjostrom is just. I don't see anyone getting past her. I mean, the fact that she reset her world record, was it last year? The timeline.
Yes, it was last year,
Yeah,
2023.
yeah, the fact that she reset her world record in 2023, like, I don't think anyone's getting past her here. Yeah, I have Manuel Washik
Oh yeah.
in podium position. I do have Manuel for silver, but I think it's an emotional driven pick here, where I was just impressed by how she got her hand to the wall and booked that individual spot, U.S. trials. I guess similar to what she did in Tokyo.
She'll have even more races of herself winning to watch going into this final. So honestly, what an epic moment to just get on camera and be like, I watched races of myself winning to pump myself up.
Yeah.
What an icon.
I mean, I went and watched perhaps the same compilation of her winning races, and I was pumped up. So I can only imagine. I think Simone, kind of puts a bow on this comeback and gets onto this podium here. But it's also 50, and anything could happen in my mind. But besides Sjostrom's Eternal, that's the only.
Sophie, are you really about to come up here and say that Simone's not going to medal?
No, I would not dare to say such a thing. I actually have the same podium as you, Coleman. My head said Shayna Jack, but my heart said Simone Manuel, and it's day 9. And at that point, it's about your heart. It's not about your head. It's not about your life. We're picking Simone Manuel to get back on the podium.
I love it. In the name of like fairness and actually previewing this event, I do just want to give a couple shouts for a few other names that have a lot of potential to medal in this. Shayna Jack went a best time 23.99 this year. So dipping under the 24 barrier. Gretchen Walsh was 24.06 at the US trials. Zhang Yufei was 24.1 last year. Wu King Fang 24.2 this year, as was Meg Harris of Australia. So there's a lot of speed heading into this event where, 1 or 2 tenths could be the difference between 2nd and 8th, truly, but not first. All we know for sure is Sarah's winning the 50.
I think Walsh is really interesting to think about. I think after her 100 fly world record in semis to start U.S. Olympic trials, a lot of people were expecting crazy swims from her for the rest of the meet. Even in finals of the 100 fly, she was out in like 25.2, which breaks into the top time if we're just of 50 flies. So she certainly had that speed. And I think that she is capable of breaking that 24-second barrier. I just think this is going to be a really long meet for her. She's going to have a lot of relays. She's now added the 100 free with Kate Douglas dropping. I think sub 24 is possible for her in the future. But I don't have her medaling here or necessarily breaking 24 at this meet.
It's an old woman's race. in the 50. It's the Olympics. The Olympics is a young person's meet. The 50 is not. Is an old person's event. They're an old person's race. But speaking of a young person's event, let's turn our attention to the men's 1500 free, where we will see Bobby Fink, Daniel Whiffen, Florian Wellbrock, Sam Short, Greg Paltrinieri, Michaela Romanchuk, among others. But it's going to be a really exciting race, as is the 800. But Bobby Fink is going to be coming off of a classic Fink victory in the 800 free, and he's had the best season of racing that he has in his career this year. So I can't, and he's gonna be coming off a win in the 800, as I said earlier. So I can't bet against him in this. So I'm taking Fink all the way. I think this is his stronger distance. as we kind of mentioned before, even though he did work on his speed by swimming the 400 free at trials. But I think he looks primed. Behind him, I like Daniel Whiffen for second. And I know I've said this is a young man's meet, but I like Greg. I like Greg Paltrinieri getting in there for a minor medal. I think he'll have his hands full with the rest of the field, but he knows how to. He's been consistent since his Olympic title in 2016 in this event. So I'm going to call Greg for a bronze. Laura, who do you have winning?
I'm the same for gold and silver. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
And I'm picking Romanchuk for bronze. But to speak more on Bobby Fink, I think he had kind of a sleeper trials in my mind. Like, I feel in talking about distance events, the conversation's always around Katie Ledecky, and the men's distance events are just not as talked about as much, at least in the U.S. field. But he went pretty fast at trials, if I recall. I wouldn't know because the Peacock broadcast didn't put his times up, but he looked good in that race. So I think he's going to look even better in Paris. And so I'm with you, Coleman. I'm backing Fink for the win here.
Yeah, he was 1440 at trials record, championship record. So his fastest time outside of a championship meet or outside of an international meet. Rather.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me.
Sophie?
Yeah, I have the same podium as you, Coleman. I think that of the 400, the 800, and the 1500, for me personally, this is the race that feels Hafnaoi's absence the most, just because it was so exciting to see him and Fink push each other to 14:31s. I don't know if we're going to see that kind of time again without Hafnaoi in the field. I think the strategy is going to be a really interesting thing to kind of think about in this race because, even in that field, once they had caught short and kind of gone off together on their own, it was still Hafnaoi who was turning, a couple tenths ahead of Fink, and Fink was really close behind him, but he wasn't out there leading, right? And if he wants this world record, he's going to have to break away from the field in a way that we have not yet seen him do, and swim this race really differently. I think, at least watching it, it will certainly look differently if that's how he decides to attack this race. And then, you're going to have Short and Paltrinieri taking the front of the race and kind of daring everybody to come catch them. So I think that it's really interesting to think about this race from a strategy perspective. I have the same podium as Coleman. I do think that this is Fink's race. I think Whiffen is certainly going to give it his best shot to push him about it. He's been very open about the fact that he also wants this world record, right? And he set a best time to become the world champion in Doha with a 14:34 flat. That is also seriously fast. He is coming in as the fastest time in the world this year. But Fink's 14:40, I think it's also a U.S. Open record. He set a U.S. Open record en route to 14:31 in Fukuoka. I think he was 14:42 at that June meet last year. So I just don't. It's really hard for me to see a world where Fink does not win this. But I like Whiffen for silver. And, of Short and Paltrinieri, the opening half speed, I think Short swims up to the 1500, but this is kind of where Paltrinieri lives. And he missed the podium in Tokyo, so he'll want to get back on.
Wait, Sophie, I didn't even realize that you did the preview for this and that was your podium.
Yeah. Stealing my thunder.
Yeah.
My bad.
It's okay.
All right. And that is the last individual event for the Olympic Games. Now we are down to the medley relays, first of which is the men's medley relay, where US and China, I think, are going to duke it out for gold. And you have Australia, France, and Great Britain fighting for that last podium spot. Of course, you're entitled to completely different opinions if you'd like, but the U.S. has never lost this event at an Olympic Games, and I don't think that's going to change now. Regardless of how Nick Fink is swimming, I think whoever swims backstroke will do great, whether it's Hunter or Ryan. Whoever swims breaststroke is going to be fine. Caleb Dressel is Caleb Dressel, and whoever swims freestyle between Alexi and Giuliano or some other third dart, it doesn't matter. U.S. is winning. But I do think China will have enough in the tank to get in there for silver. Their core is rock solid. I think butterfly is probably their weakest leg, but they've got Pan Jianle, they've got Chen Haiyang, they've got Zhu Jiayu, so they can pretty much make up for it. And then just for the bit, I'm going France for bronze. I would love to see, especially if Florent Manadou anchors. I would love to see Leon on breaststroke, Maxime on butterfly, and Manadou on freestyle. And then they have really strong backstrokers too. They Mayo and Tomac, or their other guy whose name is escaping me, but I would really love to see that photo finish for the French men's team. Sophie, thoughts on the men's medley?
I agree with the first two picks. For the podium, I think it's fairly straightforward. I think this is going to be a really great race for bronze between, France, Australia, Great Britain. It would be interesting to see if Netherlands and Italy can get back involved as well. I think that as I was talking for the mixed medley relay and, putting 3 men on that relay for Great Britain, I've kind of talked myself into Great Britain for bronze here. They've found their answer in the backstroke. And, again, PD question mark. But I think that they're going to do it. It'll be a close race. Chalmers is certainly going to come and do his best to out-touch them once again, but I'll take Great Britain for bronze.
Laura?
Yeah, I'm thinking through this, and it seems to me I just keep getting hung up on the breaststroke legs because so many of them seem to be a question, like PD question mark. Mm-hmm. If PD's on, I think that lifts Great Britain to a medal. If he's off, then I think it gets more interesting. No one's catching the US, I think, but Fink seems to be the biggest or the weakest link, I would call that, on that relay. And then China's, to me, it seems like all built around their breaststroker almost when I think of their lineup. So I think it'll be a really interesting race, but the US is just no one's getting past them. I think China, on the strength of Chen Haiyang and of course all his teammates around him, but on the strength of that breaststroke leg, I think they hold silver there, and then it just depends.
I didn't realize Italy, when they won in 2022 and just beat the US, was 3:27.5. That is really fast. And again, I think they have a shot. I think all 4 of those swimmers are still on the team. And obviously
who's their butterflyer?
I think it's Federico Brediso. I'm pretty sure. I think he made the team, but if not, I think they have solid butterfly options. But I think that's certainly their weakest leg. Nicolo Martinenghi has been consistent, but I don't know how great he can be. Same with Moressi. It kind of hinges on Chacon being great, and if your best leg is your first leg, that's not a great option, or it doesn't instill confidence in the last race of the meet. But I'm sorry, Laura.
Oh,
Pick for bronze.
I have to pick. You know, I'll give it to France. Say France gets the bronze here. You know, maybe Leon will have a really good 2 breasts, and then he'll have a really good 1 breast split. Like, let's live in that world for a little bit.
I'd like to, but all right, fair enough. Last event of the meet, women's medley, 400 medley relay. Let me pull this up here. I think United States is probably the favorite to win. Australia is the defending Olympic champion, where they went 351.6 to the US's 351.7. But since then, it's been the US 1 in 22 at Worlds, 23 at Worlds, not in 24 at Worlds, but that's because they didn't have a team. And then Canada and China look like the favorites for bronze behind them. I think Sweden has a small chance in there, but I wouldn't say it's as great as China or Canada. I think the U.S. women know how to do this race. We'll pull it off. I think they'll be ahead of Australia, who gets silver, and I'm going Canada for bronze.
Who's their lineup?
That's a good question.
Enlighten me.
They've got Kylie. Kylie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They have a breaststroker.
Huge.
I forget who it is. Kelsey Wog. They definitely have or Sydney Pickram. Butterfly Maggie. Freestyle. Honestly, probably Summer. And I could roll with Canada for bronze, pulling it out, as they say, ahead of China. Although I don't know who China's lineup would be. I know they're going to be good. I know they're going to have a stellar breaststroke leg, a stellar butterfly leg, and probably a very, very good freestyle leg. I don't know who their backstroker is, though.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I also don't know China's backstroker, but that strong core of the breaststroke of Tang and Zhang in the middle on the short axis strokes, that's very compelling to me. I think they can get there. I think they can get onto the podium for at least bronze.
Yeah.
It seemed. I think this is the U.S.'s race. I mean, when you take all the emotions out of it, it is 3 world record holders and Kate Douglas, and I think that's a very compelling argument on its own.
Yeah.
Australia. Someone remind me who their breaststroker is now.
Chelsea Hodges. I don't know.
I just think breaststroke is too much of a weakness for them. Them to overcome the U.S.
And their butterflyer is Emma McKeon, who was 56.6 at trials, which yikes.
I'd forgotten about that. I mean, they obviously have a great front end and back half. They have a great backstroker in McEwen, and they have a whole stable of people who could anchor this relay in crazy fast times. But it's that core that is going to be a struggle for them. So am I talking myself into China silver? Like
I know, and now that it's like, ooh.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this was a fun game to play. Who's going to win, Australia or the U.S. It was interesting to consider. There were some people who were certainly going very in depth into this argument in the comment sections, but I think, as Laura said, 3 world record holders and Kate Douglas is not something that you bet against. And I know that there's certainly a lot of interesting options for Australia's relay. Do you put McKeon on the breaststroke leg? Does that still fix the uncertainties that, lie with their breaststroke and butterfly legs at this point? I don't know. And then for bronze, I guess it comes down to Summer's long meet versus how much of a mental toll peeing in a cup has. I guess I think China gets bronze here. I think that in the uncertainty between who is my backstroker and who is my breaststroker, I will pick the team that is sure on the breaststroke leg, which is China. And, you know, Tang is a 104.3 breaststroker. And that is going to be 2 seconds faster than whatever, you know, Sophie Angus, Sydney Pickram are going to put up. And I think that at the end of a long meet, that's going to be too big of a hole for McNeil and McIntosh to climb out of for Canada.
You guys talked me into it. Honestly, you might have talked me into China for silver. But yeah, no, Canada for bronze was an emotional pick, and I now see the error of my ways. But that's okay. It's been a long meet. It's been a long podcast, but we did it.
What a long meet.
And officially, that is your 2024 event by event preview for the Paris Olympic Games. Thanks for sticking with us through all 3 parts of this if you made it to the end. Hope you enjoyed, and we will see you on SwimSwam for the full Olympic coverage starting this Saturday, July 27th. See you there. You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.